Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
Rob, you on another bus overseas?
I am at a beach in Lisbon.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
So how's everybody doing?
Good.
Great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. So today's topic, and I see we don't have that many people on, but that's all right. I wanted to find out what we're all doing to kind of help our team members, give them a little elbow of accountability, and what's that frequency? And maybe the last thing is, what do you do when you're not satisfied with the effort or the outcome? So I don't know, do we have a, a volunteer to get us started here?
So Rob, I'll start. I'll just say that we do I do monthly one-on-ones with each individual agent to kind of do a check-in with them, see how they're doing, see how they're tracking against their goals that we set up for them the year prior. And then we have our team meetings once a week as well, where we all get together and talk about our deals. If somebody is not performing as they're supposed to, or maybe not living up to their team contract, then we'll do more frequent one-on-ones with them, and we'll start to get them kind of like on a 90-day performance improvement program. So that's going to require them to make more calls and check in with us weekly.
And Patrick, how do you think they process that when you call them out and say, hey, you're not hitting it, time to come in and make the calls, time to have a higher accountability? You think they feel it's punitive, or do you think they feel that you're really trying to help them?
I think honestly a little bit of both. I think it's hard for the individual to take the ego out of themselves because nobody really likes to be criticized at the end of the day. But I think if they look at, in the mirror and realize that, yes, Patrick and Chopper are trying to help me make more money. That's what it comes down to.
Chopper, you feel the same way?
Yeah, but you know what? It's a challenge. We are always hoping. Maybe like for me, it's my ego. We went through that whole 7 interview process, and now the person's a zero. And like I have a situation where I could tell just from the lack of swagger. I said, when I look at you, I see Yao Ming. And when you look at yourself in a mirror, you see a hobbit. And,
Right.
that's a disconnect. You
That-
know, have we made bad hires? Yes. When I was in the furniture industry, there was a guy who had all the best lines, but he would lose them in a year. And I found out he was great at interviews. Performance, no. So, sometimes you get that scenario. It's tough. It's tough. But then you get to a point of coddling. And Patrick and I follow Darren Hardy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and Pat and I both agree, if we're losing sleep over somebody, it's time to cut them. I know the expression, hire slow, fire fast. Yeah, it's a good expression. It's for me, I have a challenge to implement it. What I have to do is I got to look at it that they're stealing from my family. Then I can cut ties with them. But it's not easy. Like I point to Glenn. Glenn had somebody was not performing, and he was able to get them to come up to another level. That's what Patrick and I are hoping to do with this particular individual we're talking about. You know. And it's different. We have 5 decades on our team. So you have to speak to everybody differently. We have 4 generations. The way I could talk to my brother, I can't talk to one of the Gen Zs or Gen Xers. That's another strategy you have to take into account.
So let me ask this to just you, Chopper, you and Patrick. When somebody is not performing, like what emotion does that give you, or how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel that, wow, they kind of deceive me? Do you feel I feel bad that somebody on my team's not making it? Do you feel like, all right, this is something that's going to impact the culture for like, it's like a cancer, it's in the well that's going to impact the culture. Like, which one of those feelings is more dominant, or is there something I missed?
No, it's definitely a culture. And I won't tell, I won't state this publicly. One of the processes, I take my wife with me to meet with that person and their significant other. And the two times I went against her, she was right on both times.
See, like
I
for
won't admit that though.
Why did she think that they weren't good? What did,
Both of the people we were gonna hire, or we did hire, were gentlemen, and their wives were definitely a albatross, a detriment. Was not as wasn't a positive individual, and she was spot on,
yeah,
right,
I
Pat?
I see this smiling goopy there. You know, we just had a person that will remain nameless, but I think she was poisoning the well, right? She was like that person that carried a cloud around her, right? And she had a book of excuses, right? You're on mute there, sir.
Actually, I like what our teammate said over there. If you losing sleep at night, then it's not the right fit. I love that. That's actually true. You're supposed to sleep like a baby. So that is true. But yes, I like these calls because I get good advice from very successful my colleagues on here, and I take away a lot of different things. So yes, we had to part ways with one of the agents. Um, but I think it's going to be better overall for everybody. Truly.
It was a bit of a financial burden to you and the company, right? Because she
100%.
wasn't producing. She wound up being a little bit of a liability because she didn't invest in improving her skills. So bad investment, a Debbie Downer for the team, right?
100%.
And poisoning the well. So like everything was pretty much bad about it, except for, you know, Michael and I were on hopium. We were like hoping against logic that something would change. But I think you feel relieved that you pulled the plug on that, right?
I feel really good. I want to be around winners. There's so much we can do. Um, at the end of the day, we can help as much as we can, but I do believe the team is big, but it's also the individual. The individual has to play a part also. We can do the team meetings, we can do calls, we can do door knocking, but it's also the individual has to do their part too.
And Michael, how do you hold your team accountable? Like, what's the metric? How often do you do a accountability call just to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do? And I guess that's it. Like, what are you measuring and what's the frequency?
I do it twice a week. I meet with them. I meet with them once a week. Lately, I've been doing a lot of one-on-ones. I've been taking my teammates to lunch, and we actually talk one-on-one, and then I do a phone call. So how I measure them is I have their goal for the month. So most of my agents, they have a goal. So we break it down monthly. They want to make 10,000 for the month. So I sit with them and we create a plan of how we're going to accomplish that goal. And I track by how much phone calls they make for the week, how much door knockings they make for the week. Actually, the Path to Platinum was actually very successful because it gave me kind of like a way to track and make weekly goals and see if they hit those targets throughout the week. But I communicate frequently with them.
How many are on your team now, Michael?
Now we have 6 now after we let that agent go. 6 of us.
And who's your top one, Jenny?
Well, actually, Jerry's he just started and he's about to have 6 closings. He just started not too long ago. That what changed him was that home seminar that we did together when you, Frank, and I mean, that really gave him the motivation to reach out to clients and educate. But yeah, he's my top right now.
And I mean, you have a couple of people I can think of that, good people, like, positive energy, but not quite performing. Maybe they're keeping their plan B alive, right? They got their second job going. And I don't know how we, you know, how do we set the expectation that at least the two that I'm thinking of, right? Their primary income is sustenance. All right, it's not thriving. And I don't mean that negatively, but I mean where they live, like that's not a good living. But how do we get them over the fence?
We get them. So to get that, to me, success is if you have financial freedom. If you have financial freedom, you're able to do full-time real estate. And I truly believe that if a client calls you right now, they don't want to wait till 3 days later when you're free from your second job to meet. They want to meet immediately. So it would be to get those two agents to have some type of freedom where they don't have to depend on that other job as a necessity. So the way to do that is to help, help them close more business, to save more money. But they're putting the time in. Everything is about time. They're showing up, those other agents. And I think with the rates dropping, the positive sentiment in the market, I would say like a month ago, the market woke up. So I think I see a lot of good in my team coming, truly.
I find it interesting, Mike, that I have an agent, Brian Signorelli, who has a full-time job, a very successful first career, and he has the time to do real estate at a really high level. He's probably $200,000 to $300,000 year in and year out as a soloist. And I look at that and I'm like, how do some of these other people kid themselves that they're really working this job? Right? Brian will return a call quicker than, some of these newbies that, never answer their phone, and he's got two jobs. So I just point that out there because some of the people on your team, Michael, and everybody on this call, I believe, you call them up to do an open house on a Saturday and Sunday, or you have a buyer coming in last minute. How many times do they have more excuses than you could throw a stick at?
A lot of times. But that's a good point you just made, because the full-time agent that's producing that you just mentioned is because he has the passion. You have to have passion too. You have to love real estate, which is good. Jerry, that agent I was telling you about that's top of my team, he actually has a full-time 9 to 5 job where he cannot even leave the job, and he's still the top agent on my team. So you're right. If it depends on the passion you have and how you multitask. But it all stems to you having that drive. So it is possible. I do agree.
Let me ask just the group here, like what percentage of unknown calls do you pick up?
I pick up 100%.
Me too. Unless it says spam. I find spam to be 100% accurate.
Okay.
100%, and I'll still pick up the spam calls just because I'm bored sometimes.
Agreed.
I'm
And
Paul. I don't answer them.
Jennifer, who doesn't answer them?
Lynn,
okay. And Jennifer, how about you?
I answer all my calls no matter what. Because I have ran into an instance where it said spam and it was actually someone that I needed to talk to.
I would agree. I'd say probably 70 to 80% of the calls that I don't recognize the number are some sort of a valueless solicitation. But you got to answer them all to catch the one or two that are gold, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody on this call, I'm suspecting some of you, the calls kind of got route it over to our main office number. Somebody wants to see a property, make a showing. I'll text Fred or I'll look it up in Dotloop or whatever system to find out whose listing it is and send that message over to you. But I got to go through probably 9 BS calls to get one of those, but I think it's worth it. And now I think most of our lower producing team members aren't even answering their phone calls. Like when you ask them, can you do an open house? Oh, I'm busy. Like if I was new in the business, I'd be like, can I do 2? Michael,
Right.
can you give me 2? Instead of
100%.
like being, instead of it being an inconvenience.
I also use Forewarn a lot. I know we're probably not supposed to, but I use that a lot because that tells me if it's, the person, and especially if I'm going to meet someone that I don't know to a showing or something, I'm constantly using that to see, if they're legit or not.
Why do you think we shouldn't be using it? Our board actually
It's-
gives it to us for
well,
free.
It is free for us too. I'm not saying we shouldn't be using it, but it's supposed to be used for real estate. But what I'm saying is if it's like a call that comes through and it's not someone I'm expecting and it says, unknown number or something like that, it's, I use it all the time. Let's put it that way.
I do reverse lookup.
Yeah, or reverse lookup. But Forewarn's easy because it's right on my phone. It's
Yeah.
quick.
You must be fast.
I am.
And I don't know, but I assume Mr. Durso's not on, but I see Bobby Golden. Does the All Jersey MLS include Forewarn? I thought that might have been the only one that does in New Jersey.
I think he sent a message earlier that he could listen but not talk today.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. So I find that interesting that the people, like when you're a team leader and you call up and say, hey, I have a lead, a buyer I want to give you or a listing coming in, are you available to go there? Like the people who aren't making 6 figures, what percentage of the time you think they might say, oh, I'm busy then?
No, they'll take stuff if you give it to them.
I'm going to press on that, Beth, a little bit because I have leads. I'm like, hey, I have a, $450,000 Zillow lead that we had a rerouter that came in and try to give it out. Like, oh, I'd love to take it, but I can't show it tomorrow because, my kid's softball game or whatever. There's always some excuse. And I'm not saying that, your kid's softball game or whatever it is isn't important, but I just find that you on this call here probably make that shit happen when they're full of excuses. Like Lynn, I'm sure you've had to make some sacrifices, right? Both to cover for team members and family, right? Because you want to have a balance.
Of course.
But it's not, I mean, look, sometimes it's, it's called work, right?
It's a career. It's not a job.
Well, I probably,
It's a
I
business.
mean, I know who is solid on a lead, and so I do tend to call those agents when I have something. So maybe
Right,
maybe it's not fair. I mean, some of the agents who I think aren't I
So-
can't trust to solidly follow up, I don't send those leads to them.
I hate when
lem-
people call it a job though, because it's not a job, it's your business.
It's a business.
And if you're gonna run it efficiently, you need to take it seriously. It's not a
Mhm.
job.
Correct.
It's business.
So Beth, you brought something interesting. You said that I don't know if it's fair, but you give it to the people that you know that can get it done.
Right.
That's something I wanted to put out there because I think as a team leader, is the right thing to do to round robin opportunities, or do you want to give it to the best person to get the job done?
Well,
I'll Michael, Jason, Lynn, what's your thought? Like, do you give it to the best person, or do you say, all right, now it's your turn, and you're giving them something that they're not equipped to handle?
I give it to the person that's the best fit. And if it's something that I think could be a good fit, but they need help, I work it with them.
Everybody should remember, we had, and I don't know, Lynn, did you come up to New Jersey for the we had a bunch of people come up for the Julie Vanderblue meeting.
No, didn't know about it.
Michael, you were up, right? Michael Gopi, were you up for the Julie Vanderblue?
No, I wasn't.
I think
All right,
Michael,
Mike's
so-
before his time.
Hmm?
So Julie Vanderblue spoke with me at Inman, and she at the time she was running almost a $400 million team, and 25 or so people. I think now she's down to like 250 million. Pity. But I invited her to come, and I know Scott Kaplan and a couple other team members were up there in New Jersey to listen to her talk. And my one thing that I got from that meeting was akin to what you talked about right now, Lynn, is if somebody can work a transaction with you, right? What are they going to say? Oh, how much are you going to pay me, right? Like, what's my split for helping you? And our response should, in a very polite but direct way, be like, look, Lynn, if we work this together, to be honest, you should be paying me because I'm teaching you how to do this, but I'm going to pay you a 25% referral fee, right? Because that's really throwing that inside pitch. Because everybody, what happens is they talk to their friends in the business, or they talk over dinner on Saturday night with their family, and they're like, oh, what kind of a split are you getting on that deal that you're working with Lynn? She's only giving you 50-50. Oh, you're getting screwed. If you go to XPZ LPN Realty, you can make 90% minus $500, right? But they don't realize that to watch you do your craft, that you should pay. It's like going to Harvard.
Valuable.
Right? You should pay to learn that skill. And absent us having that discussion and finding our right voice to do that, Chopper, they're coming to you and saying, you're screwing me, man. I'm only getting paid 70%. You're like, dude, you should be paying me. Like, if I'm going on the listing appointment with you, I'm showing you how I do it. You should pay me, but I'm going to pay you a small fee to help you learn how to do the deals correctly. Right? Because you get to year 7 in year 1 by going on listing appointments and watching how you work buyers. And I know that everybody on this call here, if you decided to work a buyer, you'd have like a 95% close rate. You give it to your team members, maybe it's 15, maybe it's 70%. They come in, they're like, oh, that person's not committed. They didn't want to sign a buyer's agency agreement, right? They weren't at last Friday's call. They didn't make themselves irresistible, right? Where the people are going to follow you, right? If there was if you had a medical condition and you called up a doctor and they say, hey, I can't see you for 5 months, and that's the best doctor, you're not going to say, all right, I'm going to go somewhere else. This is inconvenient. You're probably going to try to find a way to get that appointment a little bit sooner. So if we played our cards the same way, why would the outcome be any different for us? Right? Hey, you know what, Michael Gopi, I want to help you. Here's what the next step is. I could rearrange my calendar to meet you on Thursday, but when we meet, the first thing we're going to do is talk about buyer agency and how that works. And then we're going to have a conversation, and my client sign a 1-year agreement with you. When we get together, I'll explain why that's important. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. And then if you do that with somebody else, do you think that they're going to be a lot more confident in doing that? Right? Because if you're going, like, if you need to have a heart valve replaced, right, or whatever, some major medical procedure, are you going to be concerned highly about the price? Probably
No.
not, right? So if you're buying a house, or selling a house, price is so insignificant if you're getting value, right? Like, I would almost like say, Michael, if your agent isn't willing to crawl through broken glass to help you get the transaction done, maybe you ought to rethink who you're hiring. Right? Because most agents won't even go near a shard of glass to get a deal done, right?
True.
So that's what I think we need to instill in our team members. To be honest with you, is we just need to take it to that next level. And we need to help them, realize it, and not like get caught up in the Julie Vanderblue camp where, you know, she just had one agent that she just, you know, poured her heart and soul out, and then over the dining room table or over a dinner with some friends, they're like, oh, you're getting screwed. You know, you're only getting paid 50-50 on those deals. And Julie's like, I'm giving her $1 million deals I could have easily done myself. I just wanted to help her career. And then she goes out to dinner with her friends. They're telling her that she's getting screwed, and then she leaves me. Like, you know what? I can relate to that. And I just want to help every one of you understand that if you're going to go out and help somebody, you know, do a transaction, that they really should be paying us. And if you're paying them a referral fee, that's found money. Does that make sense? That resonate with anybody?
What if you're mentoring someone? What are the expectations should be of that mentoree? Like the person that's being mentored?
First thing I'd say, Jennifer, is clarity,
Yeah.
right? You have to identify, you know, what the process is. So, you know, if I was like and I am not trying to brag because it's not myself, it's the combination of finding people that are willing to crawl through broken glass and then having the belief system that they can become successful on the other side. So it started with I think it was Michael Tejada, and then Carlos Turner, and then Mike Martinetti, and then David Hayes. Out of 3,000 agents in New Jersey, we had the Rookie of the Year 4 years in a row. But it's only because what happened is these hungry agents, I connected them with the person that got it the year before. And they were like, well, here's what I did, right? And these people were willing to follow that path. And they wound up becoming, you know, each of them, their first year at Remax, did platinum or higher. Okay. And I'm proud about that, right? Because like it's a lot of you know, kind of sharing with them what you might have done differently and having the courage to do that without feeling like you're going to offend them. You know, it's having the courage to even, you know, call them out when, you know, you start to see that they're sliding. I remember Mike Tejada, you know, was on track to make platinum, and then he just completely, you know, started coming into work late, you know, barely made platinum. And I'm like, Mike, where you been? Like, I haven't seen you. You used to get in the office in the morning at 8. Yeah, I'm slacking a little bit now. I'm like, well, what do you have in the pipeline? And you know, those things really matter, because sometimes they find quick success and they become really complacent. And you need to, you know, you need to be there for them when they're, you know, when you're new and you start to, you know, find success quickly. It's easy to take it for granted and then let that slide, right? Some people are motivated by, you know, having enough money to feel comfortable in the bank account. And I think that was Mike Tejada. Once he had, you know, a lot of money in the bank account, he's just like, all right, I lost a little bit of my edge. I lost a little bit of my motivation. And it's fine if that's where you want to be, but you know, I had to give him a big wake up call with the Louisville Slugger. Like, Mike, what are you doing, dude? Like, you know, I was hoping that you go from platinum to chairman's club. You know, you're going to go platinum to 100% club with the plan you're doing. So my answer to your question, Jennifer, is it really depends on, you know, where they want to be, how much clarity you have, you know, when do you let them go on their own, right? And do their own thing. And then even when you take your kid, you let them go on the bicycle without the training wheels, you still have to watch, right? Because you can't be fooled that they have, you know, they have the appropriate judgment to get through a lot of different things that they've never seen, right? And when I watch some of the ways that this group on this call handles issues that come up, okay, it's not like, oh my God, what the hell are we going to do here? This is crazy. It's like, hey, Jennifer, just, you know, calm down. Let me explain to you how this is going to work. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And everything's going to be fine. Right. And how many times do you overcome like insurmountable, what seemingly insurmountable um, obstacles in a transaction, but you know you're going to get it done? And how many times do you think your team members, you know, let that deal fall apart and die and don't even come to us? It's just shocking. how many, and most recently, there's been like a record amount of so
We
does that
have to
help
be
you
the
get?
solution finders.
Yeah. But you also have to like, you know, if I was mentoring you, Jennifer, I'd like, look, Jennifer, let's talk about what the path is, right? The first path is maybe get the 100% club or whatever it is in your market with your mentee, right? And then you can even talk about, hey, once we hit this threshold, let's talk about what the next benchmark is going to be. And if they don't run with you, that's on them. But I think it's up to us to be there and give them that elbow, give them that nudge, and let them know that we care enough to hold them accountable. So, Lynn, you have anything to add to that?
Sorry, do I have anything to add to keeping them
Yeah.
accountable?
Well, no, imagine if you just went all in to try to mentor one of your team members and make them the next version of you. Like, would they ever leave? They shouldn't.
They shouldn't. In fact,
And
two of
and
them
like,
have already said they don't want to because
They like the growth and the support.
right, but nobody's doing your numbers yet. So like maybe we need to push it a little bit,
yeah.
like push them a little bit harder. It's like the
I think in the next month or so, you're going to see a big difference because I did start implementing
A lot of the accountability that we talked about and doing. They have to do weekly forms. I just hired an IT company to put systems in order for me because it's not my strong suit.
and we're already seeing changes in the behaviors.
Right. I mean, if you were like, a college football coach, right? And you let your students, party all the time and not come to practice, with the right mindset and physical condition to execute, you'd have to kick them off the team, right? Because they're bringing everybody else down, and you want to make them champions. So I just think like, sometimes, I get sucked into the pity party. Oh, one of you might call me up like, oh, it's horrible. You did all that for them and then they failed. But at some point we have to, take a little bit of accountability and figure out the psychology to get these people motivated, right? Sometimes you have to, in sports, you have to call them out for their bullshit.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think exiting
that-
somebody from the team not too
Too long ago made everybody else.
understand
Right.
that it matters.
I mean, if anybody's a football, understands football, like sometimes you take your best player and you sit him on the bench, right? You say, no leads for you, right? You're not going to play the second half of the game because you played so lousy. So, you know what, Lynn, you're not getting any leads until you up your game. We're basically putting you on pause. And it's not because I'm being mean. It's because, look, you can do so much better. You got to take everything you have and convert it. And then you come back and then we'll put you back in the rotation.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like, but most of us feel bad, right? Oh, the deal
Yeah.
fell apart, and they're struggling financially. Of course, they're struggling financially because they're not putting the effort in,
Working. Yeah.
right?
It's
They're not
the
coming to you with all
opposite.
these questions.
I did the opposite this weekend, and on Friday,
I had a few people that were negotiating deals that were struggling a little. And I said, I'll tell you what, if you can close the deal by Monday, you each get a gas card.
I'm going to today's meeting with 3 gas cards.
They closed them.
So positive
Congrats.
incentive worked for that group. But I don't
Yeah.
definitely
Definitely understand they have to do it.
And maybe you also want to take a look at how their problem solving skills are, right? Because if they're putting together 5 deals and closing 3, or they're putting together 5 deals and closing 1, because some of your team members are doing those percentages. And when you put 5 deals together, you close 4.72 of them, And
Sorry.
and
You cut off on me. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, when you put these deals together, you're closing nearly 100% of them, because like we know what we're doing, you know, we have that certainty, we have that swagger. It's not arrogance or pompousness. It's like we just know we can get it done. I mean, Patrick, how long have you like you've had some commercial deals that you've been in the game for what, a couple years or longer?
Big Chopper and I just closed one that we were in for 6 years. 6 years.
But
Congrats.
you knew how to get it done, right?
Yeah, you play the waiting game.
And hopefully, I don't remember, was that a big commission or no?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it was worth it at the end of the day. But most people aren't even in business for 6 years, Patrick. So they would the transaction would have outlasted their career.
And to your point, Rob, sometimes time can be a deal killer. You know, the longer the deal goes on, sometimes things come up, the longer the things go. Rates change, buyers' lives change, you know, things change as time goes on. So that's part of deal management.
Right. I'm gonna suggest if anybody has a top third producer in their team that has a pipeline of clients that they're working with and pending transactions, I want us all to do a pipeline review with them once a week. I want you to talk about what your pending transactions are, right? Don't assume that, you know, because they're under contract that they're closing. And then talk about what their active prospect list looks like, the people that they're close to getting a listing on, the listings that they have that aren't selling if you're in Florida, the buyers that, you know, are so picayune that they haven't found the place and gone under contract. You know, I remember I had one lady in Closter, our office up in Closter, New Jersey. You know, she was working her first, this is back 7 or 8 years ago, her first $1 million+ buyer. And she was working on them for about 8 months. And she's like, Rob, I can't abandon them because then will have, you know, lost everything I had. And I was like, well, what happens if you continue to work with them another 8 months and they don't buy? She's like, well, then I'm going to continue working with them. Well, I'm like, let's figure out, like, you know, you're a $200,000 producer. I know you want to get your first, you know, cred with a $1 million+ buyer, but you spent how many hours with these people? And I adaptly adjusted it to the value of her car based upon her hourly rate. And I'm like, so far these clients are already stolen your car because you make $200 an hour and you put so many hours in with them that you could have bought your secondhand, you know, BMW 320 for $27,000. That's how much money that you already have invested in them. If they don't buy, you know, pretty soon they're going to steal your house, because it's just the way I think. And you know, she wound up having to abandon those clients because you know, the husband and wife weren't getting on the same page, and she could have spent another 24 months and had a big goose egg, and that might have put her out of business. But I think everybody on this call, you have that judgment when it's time to punt, right? Or how to get them over the fence. But trust me, your team members don't. All right. So I don't know if I'm over time yet or not. Oh wow, we're 9 minutes over. I will what's that?
I said it's good information. Keep talking.
All right. Well, here's my thing for next week. You know what next Monday is, right?
Labor
It's
Day.
Labor Day.
Already.
Labor Day.
Oh, he jumped off.
He dissed us.
Okay, so it's Labor Day. Everybody's off. Everyone gets a bonus.
Who's working?
Do we ever get a day off?
No. I'll be in Michigan though, so I'm still doing deals. I'm actually, when I get back, I will be putting 2 on the market, so not too bad.
You want to get busy, go away, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys, I'm flipping off. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Happy Monday.
All right, take care,
Happy
guys.
Monday.